An electric circuit is really the main application of electricity and magnetism. And a circuit is composed of electrical loops, and these loops can contain different components depending on the function that you want the circuit to perform. So here we have a battery or a power source and a switch, which allows us to turn this light bulb on and off. And you may also have a resistor in the circuit to prevent too much current flowing through this light bulb and blowing it up. Now an open electrical loop, such as this one, which is created by this open switch, does not allow charges to flow. So that's what we call an open circuit. And in contrast, if we close this switch, then we get a closed loop. So this closed circuit creates a pathway for charges to flow. So in this case, when the circuit is closed, current would flow through this light bulb and it will light up. Now on the other hand, if we create a short circuit by connecting these 2 points together, then you're basically shorting out the battery, because current flows through the path of least resistance. So therefore, instead of flowing this way through the switch, and note that when we refer to current, we use conventional current, which is the direction that positive charges would flow. But we know that current is due to the flow of electrons through the circuit, so keep that in mind. So because we created this short circuit, the current would flow along this path of least resistance, and therefore the bulb would not light up in this case. But instead, you get uncontrolled flow of current through the battery, and you'll short the battery, basically damaging it. And to prevent damage from such design errors, a fuse can be installed. So therefore, when you have too much current, the fuse will instead get damaged and stop the current from flowing. To prevent damage to a component in the circuit. And note that depending on your design, you may have multiple loops in a circuit. So for example, you may have a capacitor here. And now let's remove this short. So therefore in this case, a single circuit element, such as this resistor here, can be part of multiple electrical loops. And we'll look at more complex circuits as we progress. Circuit schematics are representations that are used to describe and analyze electric circuits. And the properties of a circuit are dependent on the physical arrangements of the constituent elements. Now circuit elements have common symbols that are used to create schematic diagrams. And we've seen a symbol for a battery. So the longer line represents the cathode or positive terminal, and the shorter line represents the anode. And sometimes you may see a battery drawn as follows, using multiple long and short lines. And we've seen a symbol for a resistor. So this reduces the flow of current through a circuit. And this here is a symbol for a light bulb. And here we have a symbol for a switch. Now other circuit elements you will encounter are capacitors. So these are represented as two parallel lines of equal length. And recall that the function of a capacitor is to store charge. And when we look at magnetism, you'll also come across inductors. So these are represented using a loop of wire, as shown. And we'll also have measuring devices, such as a voltmeter, which is represented schematically using a circle with a symbol V. So this is used to measure the potential difference between 2 points. So you typically connect it in parallel. And an ammeter is used to measure the current in a circuit. So that's represented with a circle and an A. So to measure the current in a circuit, you'd connect the ammeter in series. And remember that circuit diagrams will generally be drawn using conventional current, unless otherwise specified. So that means we look at the direction that positive charges would flow through the circuit. If this switch was closed, of course, or we have a closed loop for current to flow. But we know that current in a circuit is due to the motion of the electrons. So keep this difference in mind. And if we have a variable circuit element, then we draw a diagonal arrow across that standard symbol for that element. So this means we have a variable resistor that can be adjusted. And another example is if we have a variable capacitor that can be adjusted, then we draw a strike-through arrow through that circuit element to represent it. One tool that I recommend you use is Tinkercad. And I'll leave the link below to this web application in the description. So this is a circuit simulator that allows you to design and experiment with your own circuits. And note that you generally use a breadboard to experiment with circuits. And we'll briefly look at how this works in Tinkercad. So as we can see, we have a breadboard with nodes or points to connect circuit elements, and the nodes or points in each of the top 2 rows are all connected to each other, but the rows are not connected to each other. And here we have a column of nodes from F to J, which are all connected, but each column is not connected to the neighboring column. And similarly here, we have a column with connected nodes A to E, but the columns are not connected to each other. And these 2 blocks of columns are also not connected. And finally, we have the bottom 2 rows, where the nodes in each separate row are connected, but the rows are not connected to each other. So therefore we can build our circuit by connecting the positive terminal of the battery to this row, where all the nodes are connected, and then we connect this row to the left terminal of the switch, and from the common terminal of the switch, we connect that to this column, where all the nodes are connected, and we connect this to the resistor, and then through the resistor we connect this column here to this column of nodes, to which we connect the terminal of the light bulb, and then through the light bulb we connect this column of nodes to this column. So basically we're going from resistor to light bulb and down to this column of nodes, and to the negative terminal of the battery. So this row here is all connected to the negative terminal. So as you can see, we have a closed loop. So positive to switch, through the switch to the resistor, through the light bulb, and back to the negative terminal of the battery. So with this switch, if we flick it to the right, then the common pin and the right pin are engaged, and therefore we no longer have a closed loop for current to flow. So the switch shuts off the light bulb. So if we flick it to the left again, the light bulb lights up. And if we increase the resistance, then that reduces the flow of current through the light bulb, so you can see it gets dimmer. So if we go back to a lower resistance, the light bulb goes on. And we can also look at the schematic view. So as we can see, we have the battery connected to the switch, and then the switch is connected to the resistor, which is connected to the light bulb. And that's connected to the negative terminal of the battery. So we see that when these two pins of the switch are touching, we have a closed loop. And if these two pins are touching, then we have an open loop, and no current flows. So to create a short circuit, we can connect the wire from the positive terminal directly to the ground. So therefore, when this switch is on, the light bulb won't light up, because current would flow in this loop unimpeded and damage the battery. And you can also create a short in each component, so if these two pins were touching, then the light bulb would not light up, because the current will just flow straight through these points, because it's a path of least resistance. So therefore there's no current going into the bulb, as we can see, where we've shorted the light bulb. So if we delete this and run our simulation again, we can see the light bulb lights up. So try to build your own simple circuit in Tinkercad using the breadboard to have some practice testing out different designs.